Okay, today we're going to take a look at a review of chapters 1 through 5 and some practical approaches for teachers. We've been reading the book and we're finding some useful and quick writing strategies that can work for us across all of our subject areas. Think of these tips that I'm going to show you today as moving from just saying to the kids, I want you to write something, to a more guided and purposeful approach. So here's 5 examples that illustrate this, drawing on the principles from the book that we read. So the first one is trying to move from write a paragraph about what you learned to expand a kernel sentence. So instead of just asking students to write a paper on a topic like the water cycle or something of that nature, you start with a simple or a kernel sentence like water evaporates. Then you provide question words for them: who, what, when, where, why, how, and you ask them to answer in note form and then combine their notes into an expanded sentence. So for example, when does water evaporate? The student may take a note when heated. And then where does the water evaporate? The student may note from a lake. Finally, the student will form a sentence such as water evaporates from a lake when heated by the sun. So this activity ensures that students are not just following up and throwing ideas onto a page, but they're thinking about the details and conveying information in a structured way. This type of sentence expansion activity really encourages students to anticipate what a reader needs to know and to provide that information. The next one is moving from correct the grammar mistakes to identify sentence fragments and make them complete sentences. Rather than marking up student papers with generic grammar corrections that they won't understand, give them a list of sentences and sentence fragments from their reading or subject. Then they can identify which ones are complete sentences and which ones are fragments. Then they'll rewrite the fragments, correcting for capitalization and punctuation, and adding what's missing to make them complete. For instance, a fragment such as after the Civil War becomes after the Civil War, a nation began to rebuild. The students practice with sentence boundaries. They correct word order, capitalization, and punctuation. It also helps them to understand that writing requires more precision than speaking. And in this way, grammar is taught in the context of student writing instead of just in a vacuum by itself. Okay, next one is moving from write an essay on a historical figure to complete sentence stems using because, but, and so. Instead of jumping straight into a multi-paragraph essay, have students work on shorter sentences that require specific connections and explanations. For instance, if you're studying the Civil Rights Movement, you could use a sentence stem such as Martin Luther King Jr. was influential because. Students complete the sentence using the word because to show a cause and effect relationship, or they can use but to show a change in direction in their thinking, or they can use so to indicate a result. Examples might include Martin Luther King Jr. was influential because he led peaceful protests, or Martin Luther King Jr. was influential, but some people did not agree with his methods. This type of activity helps students think critically about relationships between ideas and use more complex sentences. It also encourages students to use and understand more complex sentences in their writing and their reading. The content of the curriculum drives the rigor in these writing activities. And then here's the next one, moving from just give a presentation to use transitions to connect ideas. When students are preparing for a presentation or writing a report, have them focus on using transition words. Instead of just jumping from one idea to the next, they should practice using words that signal the connections between sentences and paragraphs. For example, they could begin a section of a presentation with words like first, then, and finally to signal a sequence of events. Use for example or in fact to give examples and add details. They could use as a result, therefore, or in conclusion to provide a conclusion, or use words like however or on the other hand to indicate a change of direction. This makes their writing and their presentation smoother, more logical, more engaging. It also reinforces vocabulary and content knowledge. Next, moving from writing a research paper to plan by using an outline with topic sentence and supporting sentences. We've done some work with this already in Step Up to Writing and the accordion paragraphs and outlines, but here are some other ideas. Before asking students to write a long research paper, explicitly teach them how to plan using a basic outline format. For example, they could start with a clear topic sentence that expresses the main idea of the paragraph. Then they could add supporting sentences with key details and examples. For instance, when writing a paragraph on climate change, the topic sentence could be, "Climate change is impacting the earth in many ways," followed by supporting details. This makes their planning more explicit, it helps them organize their thoughts before they begin writing, and it prevents the feeling of being overwhelmed. This also ensures that students understand that planning is crucial. So, in each of these examples, we're moving away from vague instructions and towards specific guided activities that teach the fundamental building blocks of good writing. The activities are embedded in the content of the curriculum, and this allows students to practice skills that will help them with longer writing tasks. The content drives the rigor of the writing activity, so the same type of activity can be used across grade levels using varied content to increase or decrease the difficulty of the task. These types of activities can be adapted for various skills levels. By using these structured activities, you can help your students become more confident and competent writers, regardless of the subject that you teach. So, here were 5 examples of how we use the book, Writing Revolution 2.0. I hope that you can use these 5 ideas in your classroom. Also, the graphics you saw today, these are all from Napkin AI. I hope that you can check that out. It's a free service that allows you to turn text into graphics very easily. You could also have it create presentations on different topics. And this has been done in Canva. So if you want to see how to do a presentation, to make a slideshow and then record over it so you can share it, I think it'd be a great idea, especially when we have kids who are missing class or absent for one reason or another. It's a really good way to kind of immortalize your content and to make it accessible at a later date. So have a great day. We'll see you soon.